Me people, let's talk about this shit right now. So let's just get into this, okay? There are good biopics and there are fucking shitty biopics. So where the fuck does All Eyez on Me kind of wind up, okay? So here's the thing. All Eyez on Me is kind of one of the shitty ones, believe it or not, because All Eyez on Me is fucking sloppy in some areas. I mean, like, this thing is more sloppier than Bitch Tip Bob from fucking Fight Club. Now, if you don't want to hear a mixed response review, don't get me wrong, there's some positives in here, but if you don't want to hear a mixed response review before you go see Tupac, then you might want to click off or just walk fucking away, okay? That's just basically the simple truth. Tupac, All Eyez on Me, is basically a sloppy film, as I just said. The problem with Tupac, All Eyez on Me is that it's basically the Cliff Notes or even a highlight reel version of Tupac's life. I'm talking about you got every fucking big goddamn moment of Tupac's life thrown into this film, and they're never given a chance to even digest to the point where you actually they even elaborate on anything at all. Most of these moments are pretty big deal moments and they kind of get skimmed over. They kind of take their time a bit for the most part on some areas, but then they kind of just go from this and go from that, and they drop a small detail in there, just kind of like wind that over and just kind of go to the next thing. And that's basically how it is. This movie, you kind of know the setup. It's kind of like your origin story cliche for a superhero. You kind of know how it is. It's the same basic kind of like cliche for a biopic, the way I saw it just to begin with. But that's just my overall thought. Look, Benny Boom, which is pretty much the director, he's not a clown, but his name fucking sounds like one. And the moment he was announced, I knew this dude was not up for the task to direct this movie. The dude directed Next Day Air. I never seen it, but it's not very good from what I heard from other people that have. But nonetheless, he's directing music videos, which is obviously not a film. So why give him this thing, which is probably as big of a deal as any superhero movie coming out these days? I don't know. They should have got a more credible director. Whether you like Singleton or not, I don't care. But they could have got somebody that's a little bit more credible just to begin with. And Benny Boom is not. The guy doesn't have any structure, and he gives most of these actors really nothing really to work for. And the biggest problem is just simply put the script, as I said. The movie jumps around just all of this time, and most of the dialogue is just kind of half-assed. Yes, it could be considered a little bit melodrama, like something right out of Lifetime, because the movie wants to be deep on some levels, whether it be about police or whatever it may be. The problem is the script is not well written enough to the point to get you to that emotional state that it wants you to. Honestly, it seems like it's going for more of the generic type of tears from you or the emotional moments, but it doesn't earn anything at all. Look, don't get me wrong, the cast is actually pretty good, right? I'm just going to say this right now. The cast is pretty good on some fronts. Demetrius Shipp Jr., which plays Pac with a puffier face, actually is pretty good in this movie. The guy actually does a decent enough performance just to begin with. I feel like his looks and his mannerisms gets him through the movie just to begin with. But unfortunately, if it was a better director, I feel like this dude could actually give a much more better performance. His acting is still not there, obviously, because he isn't, a veteran actor for the most part. But he actually does a decent enough job at leading the film and not letting the weight kind of crumble, upon him nonetheless. Now, the guy that plays Suge, I thought he was actually pretty good. Nonetheless, he was kind of, he was all right. He's intimidating, but, it's a breath of fresh air compared to the comedy Suge Knight straight out of Compton. The girl that played Cat Graham was actually pretty good. And Denai Guerrero was actually probably one of the better parts, I thought. I thought she was actually pretty great. Like I said, the cast is pretty good and everything was there. Even Jamal Willard, played Biggie, whatever. They're all great on some levels. But the problem is the script doesn't allow them to go beyond just kind of like just a light type of feel. Almost like a cliche of some sort. The problem with this film, on top of the problems, is that the film just simply put, like I said, it has a lot of details. It doesn't elaborate on anything. Honestly, I've never seen a movie this long have so much talking in it and say really nothing at all. Honestly, because I feel like the movie has the same problems as Notorious, where I feel like it just goes on the not stereotypical, but the generic stuff, and the stuff you already know, whatever it may be, but you don't dive deep enough into what made Tupac Tupac. What did he actually do beyond the sort of, image that people kind of saw in, certain communities of the thug life guy. He did more than just that. You don't dive deep enough in there. There are moments in this movie where they try to kind of do that, and I'm just like, fuck, that's right, right there. But then they say, nah, fuck it, let's go on to the music. And then that's pretty much how it is. Then I'm just like, fuck, you guys had something kind of there for the most part. But like I said, there's some good performances here, but the movie it seemed like it's more interested in the big spectacle, the big climax of Tupac's life, whether it be the beefs or, the music or the women or whatever, the charges. it's more interested in that, and it's not interested in actually the man behind it or the man going through those moments. So therefore, it just kind of feels like the movie's a little bit disconnected in the events that they're trying to portray nonetheless. Now, for me, overall, like I said, the movie does a decent enough job at entertaining me, and the movie doesn't give you any new details that you probably haven't seen in any documentary. Have you ever seen a documentary about, I think, Biggie and Tupac? I think it's called Beef. That was actually a pretty decent documentary there, if I remember correctly. But that was, you got information from there. There's so much information on Tupac right before this movie that I feel like this movie essentially doesn't give you anything other than just kind of like an eerie type of like realism that this, Demetrius Shipp is pretty much playing Tupac. The guy looks fantastic like Tupac, just with a bloated face, but nonetheless, he actually does a pretty real good job at portraying Pac. His acting just isn't sometimes always there, and some of the music is there, that's great, but like I said, the movie just feels a little bit too disconnected, and it's unfortunate because if you're a fan of Tupac, and I mean even a diehard fan, you might really enjoy this movie from a fan of being Tupac, but from a film perspective, I guess you could say, it doesn't really do a good enough job. I'm entertained by the thought of having Tupac's life on screen, but I'm not necessarily entertained with some of the stuff that's kind of happening here. Some of it could get a little bit boring, I'm not gonna lie, and that's just basically the truth. But overall, Tupac, all eyes on me, and boy, those words have never been more truer to a biopic, am I right? So, like I said, overall, it's just kind of a missed opportunity. The movie doesn't capitalize on some of the big moments. It just kind of throws them out there, shows them, goes to the next thing, and that's basically it, unfortunately. But it is what it is. If you're a fan of Tupac, you might enjoy it. If you're a diehard fan of Tupac, you might not even give a fuck what I'm saying or any other reviewer is going to say, because you're going to see it anyway because it's about to come out. So why not? Either way, comment, subscribe, and like. Share this video if you can. I'm Chris Smith. I'm signing out. Gonna highlight this. I like that. Yep. That looks good. It looks good. Yep. Okay. All right. Yep. Got it. Now let's make a movie.